Hello, and what are you doing now?
Keep dancing the way you were dancing. They don't get to see you dance. All right, ducking for you.
Hello, and welcome to New Mexico Day Trips. Sorry if you missed us last week. Mr. Man was sick, so we took the night off. But we're here now.
It's true. I was sick. I got a cold. I don't know. It didn't come from the kids, although the kids were visiting. I didn't get the cold from them, which was I was grateful about because usually I do. So I was happy for that. But I was pretty much under the weather. Did you tell them who you are?
I'm Shelley Carney.
She's
of the Toby and Shelley and the
Toby
Shelley part.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to do some little bit of New Mexico day trips because we have what we think of as a pretty cool trip for you this weekend. But let's listen to some dance music first.
Dance Party USA.
There we go. So let me take care of business. Some business first.
Because you're a business man.
I got business. Let me turn on the
Colorado Memorial Finishing LLC.
So I am going to come back here as soon as I finish mine. You can tell them all the new stuff that's been added to our scrolling bag. Okay.
New stuff.
Do you want to look at your website? No.
We're going to do the homework first.
Let me take care of this first. Housekeeping.
Housekeeping, homework, whatever. Yes, there it is.
You know what? One of the things that YouTube likes when you watch one of our videos is that you like our video, and then we like it too. So between the two of us, YouTube and us, we appreciate if you would like our video.
Share with your liking all the way around,
so that we can grow the channel at the rate of 1 subscriber every 2 weeks.
Woohoo! I think we got 2 subscribers per week.
Oh, did we? Oh, that's good. All right. I'm good with that. Share this with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your business associates, anybody else you think might be interested in traveling throughout New Mexico and learning more about us New Mexicans, as opposed to us old Mexicans.
The land of enchantment.
And there's a reason they call it the land of enchantment.
Because it's full of stardust.
We're going to have that conversation a little while too, come to think of it. And finally, if you are not already a subscriber.
What's the matter with you?
What is wrong?
What's the matter with you?
Make sure you take a moment to click on that subscribe button. And that way, every time we start a live stream, you'll be informed. And as a result,
in the know.
There's nothing better in life, ladies and gentlemen, than being in the know or getting shot.
With finger guns.
Okay, so tell folks about your new entries on our scrolling banner at the bottom of our screen.
Well, there are many things on the scrolling banner, like scheduling a free consultation if you should want to start a channel on your own and you need just a little bit of help, or you want some support from some friends who've done it before. Or you could get our new Livecast Live book at book.livecast.live. See, I'm just reading what it says. Subscribe to our weekly update at news.agkmedia.studio. And we always have a great new update on Tuesdays to inform you and keep you in the know.
Comes directly to your email box.
Here's my new course, How to Create, Publish, and Distribute Content Consistently. Available at course.agkmedia.studio. Or visit our website at agkmedia.studio. That's pretty cool that they have the dot, because the .com wasn't available, but the .studio was there.
Which was perfect for us.
We nabbed it because that was cool.
So I'm going to show this. I'm going to share the screen with them, okay?
Sharing the screen.
Or present the screen, as we now have to say.
Presenting the screen.
So they say present.
Here comes the screen. You're doing audio?
Do I need to do? No, I probably don't want to do that. Okay.
Audio.
That's a good idea.
We don't need that.
I don't need that.
Just ignore that. Okay. That never happened.
All right. Tell them about this.
This is my new course, How to Create, Publish, and Distribute Content Consistently. And obviously, that's the name of the course, and that's what you're going to learn when you take the course. And it is currently available, normally priced at $29.
Right there,
but we have a coupon for you. If you use the coupon before November 18th, 2022, you can get this new course for free.
What's
For
the coupon?
free. Save $29.
So I can put that in the comments.
The coupon is in the banners. If you look in the banners, you'll see it.
Oh,
And
so you're going to make them look in the
AGK
banner.
Saver, all caps.
Oh, AGK Saver dot. Oh, all caps. Got it.
There you go.
Okay, so
That's the coupon code.
That's the coupon code.
AGK Saver.
Wow.
And that's only good through the 18th of November.
Which is a Friday, if I remember
That's right.
correctly.
You have 1 month to get her
Good
done.
for you. Congratulations on your course.
Yeah.
I like
And there's
that.
more coming.
Yeah, she's not going to quit on this, man. We're going to get a lot of courses.
Yeah. Now that I know
From
how to
this
use
young
that
lady.
program, I'll program it up.
Yeah. What's that program called?
Vanza.
Is that what you demoed today on your show?
I did.
Why
And
don't
you
you
know
tell me
what?
about
They
that?
wrote to us and gave me the code I had said that they should be giving me. So we do have a code for it.
Oh, so we don't have to enter emails every time? That was weird
silly.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. So they sent you a code.
So yeah, I did my show today, Shelley Carney live stream coach, and I shared how I created this course that we just showed you from a YouTube video that I made. And so learn all about it when you watch my video on Shelley Carney live stream coach, the YouTube channel. And they give a nice demo. I did it like a demo, a screencast. So,
Oh, nice.
I'm getting
Oh, on
pretty
today's show.
dandy.
You've become. I know sometimes you don't talk about it a lot because you weren't there once, but over the past couple of 3 years, you've become very technically astute.
Astute.
Yeah.
I'm astute.
Yeah, you're astute, and everybody wants to be astute at least once in their lives.
Be astute.
Okay, so what else do we want to talk about before we get started with today's show?
We can say hi to our friends, Colorado Memorial Finishing LLC.
There's Colorado.
And
Said hi to him.
Goodell
Goodell Con, who says hootie.
Who I think is howdy.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like Mini Pearl.
All right. So glad to see you guys here. We hope you have fun. So this last week, so if you remember correctly, we had promised the week before, actually, right, when I got sick.
Yeah.
We were going to make a trip to the Very Large Array to redo the very cool time lapse that we always
day
wanted to do.
trip fail.
The day trip fail, recover from the day trip fail. And then I got sick. And I wasn't like deathly sick, and I took a COVID test, one of the self-administered COVID tests, to make sure it was that. It was just a bad cold with a cough and a sore throat, and which always
technically could have been COVID, just not COVID-19.
Right. And I know from experience that when the first signs of a cold for me is a sore throat and a cough. That's always the first thing. And then the temperature goes up and I have miserable time sleeping. And that was kind of what was happening, except I never got a temperature. So, but I did administer the self-administered COVID test, showed it was negative. So I didn't worry about it. I just went through it. And I recovered pretty quickly from colds. Colds aren't 2-week things for me. I usually give it 7 days to get through it. This one was even less than that. I was sick enough not to do the Wednesday show or the Thursday show. I think you had to do that one by yourself.
No, you showed up. But
no.
I was at home and you were here.
Right. So we didn't want to get her over because Kevin is very sensitive to Germans, right? Germs. When we were kids, we called them Germans.
We're German.
Yeah, I know. No offense.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
Doesn't that mean I'm a donut?
No, it means I'm from Berlin.
No. He said it wrong.
Oh.
If you listen to what he says, that there was a big joke in Berlin because John F. Kennedy standing in front of that, from the Ich bin ein Berliner, he actually said, I'm a German donut. It's a type of donut.
Yummy.
So it was a big thing in Washington back then. So
okay.
Not that I was in Washington at the time, but it was a thing.
Okay.
So where was I before we got on to donuts?
In Germany. Germs.
Germs.
Didn't have germs.
Anyway, I recovered enough to do the show on Thursday, but Shelley was at home doing it from home because we don't want to make her sick just in case. So then it's been okay since then. I'm back to normal and feeling fine. So we decided to go down to the VLA on Sunday, because they're one of those federal government
Sunday.
They're one of those federal government facilities that are open Thursday through Sunday.
No, we went Saturday.
Saturday.
Trinity Day.
Oh, Trinity Day. Well, tell them about that. So we were, and we tell a little bit about it in the video, but we found out something that was interesting to us. Shelley seemed to know. You actually knew about it, right?
Yeah, Kevin told us about it before.
Did he?
Yeah.
So explain to them what Trinity Day is.
So the Trinity site where they dropped the...
No, they didn't drop it.
Or they tested the gadget. They tested the gadget.
The first nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
In history.
At the Trinity site. What's the location of that?
It's down by
Alamogordo?
Alamogordo. Yeah. It's about 25 miles away from on the other side of the mountains from Alamogordo.
They open that up to the public 2 days a year. One day is in October, one day is in April. And it's the third weekend in October, which makes it convenient if people are visiting for the Balloon Fiesta, because that's the first 2 weekends in October. And then the third weekend, you can go see the Trinity site. And then a lot of people will do not only the Trinity site, they'll do that first thing in the morning, and then they'll drive over to the VLA for, a double hitter.
Wow, double hitter.
Yeah.
So if you are doing this, by the way, you have to be kind of a science geek. This is for people who wear little buttons on their hats that say, "I love science." Let's see what Godelcon says. As far as I know, I did not get COVID, but I lost most of my taste. VA is sending me to Denver to poke around.
Poke?
Well, Godelcon, maybe somebody's trying to tell you something when they say you don't have any taste, right?
Gumby and pokey.
So they're going to poke around. VA. So you use the VA as well. So you get your health care from the VA, as do I. And the Denver hospital is pretty well highly regarded. So I do know that about the Denver hospital. Anyway, so we ended up going. We had a great day. We almost got skunked third time by the weather, but we had enough time to make the time lapse and collect some data. And we also did an interview with Dr. Rick Perley, who is a resident there. He has been there for 45 years. He came to the VLA out of school. He literally left college, saw the opportunity, came here.
And he was originally from Canada.
Right. Both of the guys that we spoke to were originally from
university in
Maryland.
Maryland.
Right.
I thought he said something about
British Columbia.
University.
Maybe he did his graduate work at Maryland.
Yeah, it might be it.
It might be because he is a doctor. And he's received several awards. I looked him up on, I Googled him, and he's pretty well highly regarded.
He didn't have an accent.
Yeah. He didn't say who's.
Neither Canadian nor Burkino.
Yeah.
Although he lives in Socorro now.
He does live in. He teaches at New Mexico Tech.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's one of the professors at New Mexico Tech.
Oh, what does he teach? Astronomy?
I suppose.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe even radio astronomy.
See, my son went there for 1 year, but
it is New Mexico Tech, right?
I wasn't a fan. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good school.
New Mexico Tech School of Mines, and I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. Well, it was one of the original state-funded schools. There, every state was entitled one university that was funded by the federal government.
Oh. And
it was supposed to reduce costs and things like that. So,
well, they picked a very sad little town to put it in.
Yeah, yeah.
But we ended up the Siri directions told us to go. Oh, sorry.
Siri, never mind, Siri.
She told us to go. You get off I-25. I mean, no, I-25, and you go through Socorro to go towards Magdalena. And we got off, and suddenly there was a parade
on the main drag
right in front of us. So
literally.
We're like, what? What was this? What? How are we supposed to get anywhere? They put a parade in the main drag at like 11:30 in the morning.
Yeah. And it was literally the main drag. It's the main. It's a 4-lane highway.
Off different directions, trying to find a way around it.
Well, here's what's cool, and because we're going to play it for you, we actually had our action camera stuck to the front of the truck, and we were going to do a time lapse, right, of just getting off I-25. We're going to include it in that function. Actually, we'll show you the long video first, and then we'll come back and do the 2 shorts that came out of it, because you might want to see those separately. But it was cool because like Shelley said, we came off I-25, where you have to go through Socorro to get to New Mexico 60, which takes you west to the VLA, Magdalena VLA.
Yeah, and Magdalena was having a car show. I
Right.
think they had like 10 cars at their car show.
That was the other funny thing about it.
It's like, woo.
I'm always cautious when I go through Magdalena because it's one of those towns. It's not very big. It's probably a mile through town. There are no stoplights, but there are stop signs that they 30 miles an hour. And sure enough, every time I've gone through that town, there's a police officer that has stopped somebody for speeding through the town. We saw one this time as well. But we're going through Magdalena, and there's people. There are no sidewalks. It's just the 2-lane road that goes through Magdalena with dirt on either side. But there's people pushing baby carriages and things like that. What the hell is going on? And they were having a car show that day. Like, Magdalena probably has a population of
100?
100, maybe a couple of hundred. We didn't know that it was a popular thing. Nonetheless, it was just kind of a lot of activity for our poor time lapse operation on the front of the truck. Time lapse
Well, it was
operation.
quite the eventful day.
Yeah, yeah. We kept trying to think what is today. It was October 15th. Yeah. We're going, what is this? Are we missing some kind of holiday or something? Because it turned out that the parade who did we ask?
You must ask the guy we interviewed.
The parade in
Rick,
Socorro
'cause he lived
was
there.
the Alumni Day parade. So their annual Alumni Day. And then that we also found out later that it was, and I think he told us, right? He told us it was a car show
Because
in
he drove
Magdalena.
there,
Yeah.
same direction we
Yeah.
did.
So yeah, it was funny. Anyway, it shows up on our time lapse, and you'll see that the time lapse kind of stops at the parade because we were at a stoplight.
There's several guys riding bicycles in
Yeah.
a circle
Yeah,
right in front
and
of
it goes
us.
by
I was
pretty.
like,
It goes by pretty
"What?"
quickly on the time lapse, and then suddenly you'll see our as we travel through the back part of Socorro, through the back roads of Socorro, trying to get to Route 60. So that was a lot of fun. So we did get our day at VLA. We did get to shoot the time lapse. As a matter of fact, Shelley had never shot a time lapse before, and so I said, "Why don't we'll set up the time lapse? One of us watch the time lapse, and the other of us go collect some B-roll. Because in order to do a time lapse, the time lapse that you'll
I called
see,
dibs on the chair. So
yeah, yeah. So we had the chair. She decided to sit in the chair and watch the time lapse because it's 30 minutes to get a 30-second time lapse. It's 2-second intervals for 30 minutes. That's how you get a 30-second time lapse. And so she volunteered for that. She had her blankie and chair and was happy. While I went and shot some B-roll, and then we have walkie-talkies that we used to talk to each other. And at some point, she called me and she said they had warned everybody to get inside.
Yeah, they said, can you get a hold of your partner? I said, yeah, the walkie-talkie. And she said, tell him that there's lightning within 10 miles and we have to close down the field and everybody needs to come inside. So,
Because, of course, these things are, first of all, I didn't know this. I should have known it. But that it's on a dry, what was once a dry a lake. It's now a dry lake bed. It's at 7,000 feet. And, Santa Fe's at 7,000 feet. In Albuquerque, we are at like 5,800 feet. But you don't notice it when you're kind of traveling from Socorro up. You're actually going up. You're on a road that's taking you up, and you get to 7,000 feet, which, like, I was totally surprised. And it's wide open. And the tallest things around, of course, are those things that you're looking up at, those, 100-foot tall radio antenna. So they called us off. Then they let us back. So we finished up our B-roll. By that time, we'd already done the interview with Dr. Pearlie. And so all we had to do was shoot some B-roll and see the sites ourselves and visit the visitor center. I mean, what do you call it? The gift shop. Shelley got her T-shirt.
Ta-da.
And it says, "I'm made of stardust," and it has the Very Large Array. Now, the Very Large Array is part of the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, which these are all government agencies. And we decided not to include it in it, but they're actually connected to other arrays, both in the United States and the world, so they can collect data. And he does a complete, I'm going to ask you, so the interview, so I basically just asked questions, he answered them. I don't have my questions in there. His responses were what I hoped for. They were relatively technical, but well explained. He sounded like a teacher having to explain things to people. So I'm gonna advise you in advance, listen to what he's talking about, because he does a complete explanation of the meaning, why these things are there, what value they produce. And he actually sent me a link to some imagery that that I used in the video. You'll see some of the images that have been produced by this very large array, because you think to yourself, well, they're collecting radio signals. How does it turn it into a picture? Well, the radio signals are actually, and I'll let him explain this much better, are actually signals that are a result of energy, of molecules being energized. So some of the molecules, and I'll use a bad example here, are, let's say, cobalt. There's cobalt molecules. So those molecules, when they're being stimulated, they give off a radio signal. That radio signal makes its way hundreds of millions of light years all the way to New Mexico. And they take that, and they know that cobalt produces a certain color in the sky when you look at it astronomically through an astronomical telescope, a glass telescope. And so they can take all this data they're getting from these radio telescopes, and they can give it to a computer, and the computer can produce an image. Sometimes the images are very simple, right? Like mass energy of hydrogen, which are the simplest ones that you can do. But they tell you a lot about that star or that star cluster or that black hole, whatever. But they have more complex images, some of which you're going to see, that are a result of this collection of radio signals. And the advantage is, and I think he said it, he says it sometime during the video, in order to get the same resolution with an optical telescope, meaning a glass telescope, you would have to have a mirror, which is how you collect light data, photons.
You're giving them the whole interview.
Okay.
Just let him talk.
Let him talk. And if you have questions, we can talk about it afterwards, okay? Because it was really good. Shall we do the shorts first and then the long video, or let's do the long video?
Long video first.
Okay. So StreamYard has this new feature that my partner introduced me to. You can actually play videos instead of having to go to YouTube. Now we can play them, and we don't have to shut up. Not that we will be quiet, because you know, we'll talk a little bit about it. But so this is the VLA time-lapse video on, this is French, on production, the entire production. That's how they say it in French. Oh.
Just play the...
Okay.
Bug splatter in the bottom right corner, in case you people are wondering, what's that? Is that the storm? What's up?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, I'm Rick Perley. I'm a scientist at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, resident in Socorro, and I'm a fairly heavy user of this facility here, the Very Large Array. It's a camera. It performs the same function as your regular camera that you use to take pictures. The reason we have this camera is a very large camera. It's physically very large, up to 35 or 21 miles across. And the reason it's so large is because the wavelengths, the radio wavelengths that we are receiving are so long. The resolution of an array, any optical device, whether it's an optical camera like you have, or your cell phone camera, or a radio array, depends on how many wavelengths there is across the object, across the array, or across the lens. And since radio wavelengths are extremely long, many inches to meters, to many feet or many meters, we need to have a very large lens. So we connect together the signals from all these various antennas and replicate effectively a lens. And in a computer, we make an image very similar to the way an optical device, such as your cell phone camera, works. It's the same principles, just done in a rather different way. These large telescopes use a single reflector to form an image. And if we could do this in radio with this in exactly the same kind of way, but in order to get the same kind of resolution that those instruments do, we would have to build a single reflector about 20 miles across. So you don't have to be a mechanical engineer to realize that you can't do that on the surface anywhere, certainly not on the surface of the Earth. So what we do instead of having a single reflector, we have a large number of little ones. And then the process of image formation, which for a single lens like Hubble or your cell phone camera is done with the lens on a focal plane, let's see how best to put this. We make up the image in the computer on a digital, you might call it a digital array, by combining the signals in a way that's completely analogous to what a real lens does, or a reflector in an optical telescope. So the principles are actually the same. It's just that we rather apply them in a rather different way. All of them make use of the wavelength of light, of this particular characteristic of electromagnetic radiation. Radio waves, optical waves, they're really the same phenomenon. They differ by their wavelength. And since we are using a long wavelength, we need a really big lens. The array was designed to provide about the same resolution as an optical telescope does. So about 1 arc second, or a little better than 1 arc second. That's the angular diameter of a dime at a few miles distance. And this is sort of like a gold standard in astronomy. Of course, higher resolution is always better because the objects are very far away, as you noted, and we need a high resolution, which means large apertures, in order to detect and resolve the radiation. And by resolve, I mean see the features, not just identify a star or a point or a galaxy, but to take a look at the distribution of the brightness. Because to do physics on these objects, we need to do more than just detect them. We need to resolve them. And to resolve them, we need to have higher resolution, which is one reason this telescope is so big. Well, first of all, let's address off the beaten path. We got to be far away from all those radio devices that people love. Cell phones, smart refrigerators, smart cars. Well, we can't get away from satellites. That is an unfortunate, from our point of view, fact of life. So we tend to locate radio observatories in as empty areas as we can. We are at a very high elevation here, fairly high elevation, 7,000 feet. That's because the atmosphere disturbs the propagation of the radio signals that we're trying to receive. So we want to be as high as possible to get above as much air as we can. And the third factor is far south, because a telescope located near the North Pole can only see half of the sky. Similar to the South Pole, the other half. So you want to be relatively close to the equator. And in the United States, we're in the southern part of the country, fairly close to the southern border. So when you put together high, I forgot to mention dry, but that should be fairly obvious, and lonely and south, this is about as good a place to be located as you can. Now, what do people expect to see when they get here? An old lake bed. We are sitting on a lake bed dating from the glacial era. If this was, 20,000 years ago, we would all be in water, swimming around. So that means it's quite flat, which is what we need, because we move these antennas around. I had mentioned earlier that the resolution is given by the size of your lens, or in our case, the size of the array. And I mentioned 21 miles across, but we actually have 4 different what we call configurations. The antennas are movable, and so when we want to lower our resolution and look at fuzzy objects, we have all the antennas close together. When we want to have super high resolution to get the most discrimination on the structure of these objects, we have the antennas far apart. So if you're going to move antennas, and they weigh about 200 tons each, you need railroad tracks. And so we have out there behind me a double set of railroad tracks leading in 3 different directions. And there are 2 transporters, which are special built machines, which move along these railroad tracks, go underneath the antennas, pick them up, and carry them off to another place. And we do this about every 4 months in order to change the array's resolution.
Did you use this shot
I
twice?
think I used it.
First of all, we're open to everybody.
Once and a half.
We really, truly invite the public to come to see us and to learn what we do. I'm sure all of my fellow scientists are more than happy to explain at considerable length the kinds of projects that they're working on. We are deeply thankful to the public for funding. I have a wonderful job. I get to explore imagination. I get to ramble around basically undirected in order to understand how to use these instruments and to learn how they can work better for the purpose for which they were designed, which is basically to understand the universe we live in. It's a big universe. It's unimaginably large, and we'll never be able to go to these distant galaxies and sample them directly. All we can ever know is what the radiation that comes to us by natural means. And so we, scientists, in the last 100-odd years, have developed these methods to do this.
Clouds are really moving that day.
Oh, I was in that shot. I didn't realize it.
So we spent the day at the VLA, and for a little while there they made us get off the field because of a storm. A storm came through, and they said if there's lightning within 10 miles, you have to come in because it's dangerous out there in the VLA when there's a storm. So we did that, and then we waited about 10 minutes and it sprinkled a little bit, and then they said okay, all clear, and it passed over. So it's been kind of storming off and on all day. Not too bad, but right now it's getting bad again. I don't know if you can see all of the clouds in the sky around us and this raining stuff. And now, of course, Toby wants to get the drone out and fly it in the storm. And yeah, we're not even supposed to be out on the field walking when there's a storm, but he wants to get out in the storm and fly a drone. So attracting lightning to himself because apparently getting hit by lightning once in his life wasn't enough. Let's try for 2. Anyway, he's over there across the street flying the drone, and that's what's happening there. But we did have a good day at the VLA. The weather was pretty good for most of the day, and we got to talk to some people who had gone to the Trinity site. Oh, look, there's my sticker. They went to the Trinity site, so they told us about it. They actually did come out for Balloon Fiesta, and then they went to the Trinity site today, and then they went to the VLA after that, and then they're going to go back to Minnesota, I guess tomorrow or whenever. And we went to the gift shop and got this cool shirt. It says,
See there, it looks purple.
I'm made of stardust. I'm made of stardust. Well, okay, it's mirror imaged because I'm doing the selfie.
It is in the camera, but
and then
not
on
for
the
the
sleeve it says
recording.
very large
But
array, New Mexico, USA. Oh, what? Toby wants me to drive the car now while he's flying the drone, so I gotta go, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
all of that for this shot.
Yep. Left you out there in the storm.
So while Shelley's getting her jacket out, I'm going to show you this. We went another 20 miles west to a town called Datil. I think it's pronounced D-A-T-I-L. But I came here because there's a place literally right on the edge of town called the Eagle Guest Ranch Cafe, and they supposedly sell the best steaks in town. Well, those best steaks for 50 miles around. So we're gonna try it out. Pretty rustic little place, very traditional. What'd you get? What did you get?
Roast beef.
How was it so far?
Good.
Yeah. So I got the, I don't know, I think it's called the big ass steak. But it's pretty good size. It's very tender, and it is very good. I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish it.
You can take it off screen now. There you go.
All right, you don't have to see that. That's one
You
we
didn't.
uploaded.
He did not actually finish his steak. It was enough for how many meals?
It was that dinner, the next steak and eggs breakfast the following morning, and then I still had enough to make a steak sandwich for lunch.
There you go.
Yeah.
So if you do go there to that little restaurant, Eagle Guest Ranch in Datil, New Mexico, you can share a meal. They give you way too much food.
Yeah, even Shelley's meal, which was
I couldn't finish.
roast beef, mashed potatoes, that kind of thing. It was just a massive amount of food. So
Yeah. A lot of meat, especially.
yeah. So, but it was good. It was
Oh, yeah, it
a
was
very
good.
good meal.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. I'll change that one scene before I upload it. So I will upload this later to that one video later tonight, but I do want to change that one scene where I did the rail car twice.
Oh.
And I'll probably shorten the gift shop a little bit. I think I covered too much of you.
Yeah,
So you need more time.
that's right. More camera time.
So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a couple of motion lapses for you. One is the VLA motion lapse, the thing that we went there. And what I mean by motion lapse is that it time lapse. So there's three kinds of time lapses, if you will. One style of time lapse is the camera is steady and in one place. Another is what is referred to as a motion lapse, and you add motion to the time. So what we did with the VLA video is called a motion lapse because the camera's not actually, the camera's steady, but the camera's head is moving from left to right. So that's a motion lapse. The third thing I'm going to show you is a hyperlapse. And the hyperlapse is different because it's a time lapse in motion. And that's a time lapse, for example, that we did on the front of the truck. And that's the one that we shot as we were going into Socorro. And you only get a half second, right? So you see the guys on the bikes, and then you see us winding around. I didn't plan this, but my plan was to go right through Socorro to Route 60, and off to Magdalena, and then the VLA. But we were waylaid, and then at some point we got behind a guy with a trailer, pulling a trailer, because everybody who was trying to get through Socorro realized, oh, you're stuck. Let's see if Siri can get you out of here. So we had to take we tried one street, didn't work, still parade. We had to back up. So you'll see all of that and that's called a motion lapse. But let's look at the VLA. I'm sorry, this is a motion lapse. So the VLA motion lapse first. Two things to notice. At one point, these two guys walk up to Shelley, and you can tell, like, they come over, like they just want to talk.
Well, they want to know what's going on.
What's going on here? And we were using something called the DJI Pocket 2. It's a very small camera, and it's made by the same company that makes my drone. And it looks like, how can you do anything with that camera? It looks very unimposing, but it's a very powerful tool. And it will do the motion lapse for you because the gimbal head actually will move from left to right. So everybody wants to know about it. Whenever we're carrying it, everybody wants to know about it. And then the second one was done with a DJI Osmo Action Cam, which is stuck with a big, huge suction cup to the front of the truck. So let's do, this is the motion lapse first. This is stationary cam. We didn't do any time lapses per se. So this is stationary camera, but a moving head. That's what makes it a motion lapse. All right. And what I was going to tell you, three things to notice. One, the guys that come up and talk to Shelley. Second thing is you actually see a little tiny bit of motion in the antenna. The two antennae that are closest to the camera actually move, like, oh, let's recheck that signal and then go back. That's what's happening there. And at some point, you'll also see me walk through the scene because I was going off to do B-roll, and you can tell because I have a action camera chesty, they call it, a chest strap. As a matter of fact, we were walking past this family that was he was Gen Z. I don't know. I always get confused. Mid-30s family. And he said, nice chesty. And that was what he was referring to, was that chest mount that I had. It's called a chesty. If you're like in with the in crowd.
They call them baby millennials.
Baby millennials, is that what they are?
Millennials.
Anyway, so let's do the motion lapse first. So this is 30 seconds, and you get 30 seconds worth of motion lapse when you shoot for 30 minutes at 2-second intervals. This is what happens. Here comes Shelley's friends. Watch.
They already went by.
Oh, they did? Was that them?
Yeah, you missed it.
There goes. There they go. Watch Toby. Here comes Toby. Wait. There goes Toby. Right there. Shoot. Toby, come on. Okay, so that's a motion lapse. Camera is steady, but the head is moving. All right. Now this is a hyperlapse. That means the camera is one location, but it's on something moving. So the moving could be you. You could be walking through downtown Albuquerque. Right. And I've done those actually, but this is on the front of the truck. See if you can pick the point at which we run into the parade jam in Socorro. Oh, parade, back streets.
If only it would have only lasted that long, huh?
Yeah. So again, you have to remember this is 30 seconds worth of video, but it was 30 minutes in real time to get that much video. So we're on our way to Magdalena. We got through Socorro and we're on our way to Magdalena now. So, and bug. Yeah. See that little spot in the corner there? That was when a bug hit the lens, and we didn't see it until we got all the way. We were already in the VLA. I went to get the camera off to use it and noticed there was a little black bug that had spattered himself on the corner of the camera. So, removed
It
us.
took us out.
Yeah, hang on. There we go.
Try again.
So we had a really good time. Really enjoyed it. Dr. Pearly was just amazing. You could tell. You know, he's.
You know what you didn't do though?
Hmm.
I didn't see any inside of the visitor center.
I didn't have time for it. I was trying to decide. We did have the visitor center. You had some.
I know that
and
wasn't
I
a
had
very
some.
big place, but
I thought this is getting long, so I'll go back and try and fit a little bit in. towards the, maybe I'll do some visitor center plus the gift shop over your voiceover. So I'll go back. That'll take about 5 minutes to fix. So we had plenty of content. I'm always telling Shelley, make sure we get enough content, you know,
And
because
then you
we have
don't
to
even fit it all in.
Yeah. I think we had a total of between all the cameras, what Shelley was doing, exclusive of the time lapse, we had like 85 minutes worth of B-roll in, 15 and 30-second segments. So let me answer some of these questions that I saw on the way. So Mary asked, did you hear or see any aliens? We neither saw nor heard them, nor do they. If it would be a signal from an alien source, it would be a signal that would have been traveling through space sometimes, well, literally millions of years, millions of light years, because that's how far away this stuff is. So any alien that sent you a signal, it would still take, even traveling at the speed of light, it would still take millions of years to get here. So anything that happened, would have happened millions of years ago. But for an interesting perspective of this, if you ever saw, I don't know what year it was, I should look it up before I tell you guys. It was a movie called Contact. The main star, the main character, was Jodie Foster, and it's notable for a variety of reasons, including Carl Sagan made a cameo in it, and Occam's razor is actually, for those of us that are fans of Occam's razor is actually referred to in the movie, and she gives it her definition. Right, it's not the Latin definition, but it is her definition. So if you get a chance, look at Contact, because they used this field of antenna to make the movie, and they were doing what is referred to as search for extraterrestrial life. Now, if you want to know more about search for extraterrestrial life, look up SETI, ESETI.org. That's the organization. It is not a government organization. It is privately funded. They do get some funding from colleges and universities, but SETI is privately funded, and it's searching for extraterrestrial life using similar arrays of antennas, none of them as big as these, but they do the same thing. They're searching for a different brand, a different type of radio signal. SETI, search for extraterrestrial. I said life, I meant search for extraterrestrial intelligence. That's where that comes from, okay?
They do have a bulletin board in the visitor center with all about the filming of Contact.
Contact, yeah, with a picture of, I noticed there was a picture of Jodie Foster. So that was I think that was one of the movies that I could honestly say, because it is science fiction, but it was very well done, and it had the approval. What do you need?
I was looking at this. There you go.
Oh, okay, sorry. So, yeah. Let's see. So we didn't see any. Let me see. Okay, so flying of drones. You cannot fly drones over the facility. You can't do anything. They even checked us when we were pulling out our microphones, and the microphones that we use are transmitter receiver wireless microphones. And somebody came up and asked us which signal that gave off, and it's a Wi-Fi signal. It's not a radio signal. It's actually a Wi-Fi signal, and that they were okay with that. But we were also carrying walkie-talkies. As I said, when Shelley and I get separated, we want to make sure we can communicate with each other. And so I thought I'd check with them. I did check with them before we turned the walkie-talkies on, but they all had them as well, and they were the same band range. So there's certain things that they can't do. There is a sign inside the facility that says no drones, and that because it interrupts the signal. But if you look at the footage that we flew, it was outside the facility. We kind of followed the national park rules. We filmed from outside the facility. That's why they're so far away. All the footage we did was literally outside the facility so that we wouldn't get ourselves in trouble. So let's see, like this sci-fi sound, awesome shot of the Milky Way. So some of those shots were actually provided by the VLA. So they do have some publicity shots that they publish that are .government products, so they're not copyrighted. That they do have them. I didn't do those. I'm not going to take credit for them. They also provided the shots that were from the outer space, that were either the radio signal shots, which are the very simple ones, or the complex radio shots, which are the ones that they feed to a computer, and it starts analyzing the gases that the signals are coming from, and then it paints it based on that. So it was so the sound was they had this. Let me see if I can I do this quickly. I don't think I can do it quickly.
Sound of the spheres.
The sound of the
Song
spheres. So they had this thing up, and
kind of a big guitar thing.
It had,
but it was kind of funny because there's a bench there. So Toby and I sat down and waited for something to happen. And when the wind would blow, it would kind of run up against those strings and there would be some sound. And then a little while later, we realized, well, we could just pluck the strings and make the sound ourselves. So we did that.
I didn't make an image separate. Oh, yes, I did. Hang on.
Oh.
So here's the image. I'll share this with you and you guys can see what we're talking about.
Taken that one.
Yeah, you did take that. So I need to share another.
Music of the spheres.
Can I move this over here?
You have to share it.
I do, but
screen share.
I need to move it over to that.
Oh.
So this is what was making that noise. And as you can see, it has these are all the minor planets. These are all the major planets. So there's 4 minor, 5 major, and they're kind of in order, and you actually have to know them. So this is, Venus, Mercury, Earth, and Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto way out here at the end. They still had Pluto before. So this was made before Pluto became a non-entity. So the only thing, and this is my interpretation. I don't even know if you agree with this. My interpretation is these were nylon strings like you would find on a guitar. And I assume that since they were strung kind of the same, that as the wind blew through them, there's this guitar body down here that you'd be able to hear it. And so we sat there for a little while seeing if anything was going to happen. And sure enough, a little sound came out of it, but it was very slight. It sounded kind of spooky.
Well, the funny thing is there are signs everywhere explaining what everything is, what it does, when it was invented, blah, blah, blah. But this is the one thing that it didn't have a sign. So we're sitting there on the bench kind of waiting for something to happen. And this older couple came out and was asking us, what is this? And what's this about? And we're like, oh no, there's no sign.
Yeah, no sign to understand it. Anyway, at some point, the wind did come up a little bit. You've got to remember, you're on a flat plane at 7,000 feet. So there is wind, right? And I heard a little bit of a sound, but it was very slight. So I took my action camera off my chest and I just went over. That's what you'll see in the video. I went over and put the microphone. The action cam has its own microphones and put it there. And sure enough, it produces this really cool music. So that's as close as we came. So I told you about the drones, and then that, and Gadelcon lost his audio. Then he realized it was him. Like, let's see, doing a Ben Franklin. Yeah, that's kind of what I was doing out there with it. Of course, what would have been the lightning would have struck would have been the drone, and it wouldn't have hurt me any, but except in the pocketbook because I didn't have to buy. Because I don't think you'd get a replacement drone for flying in a storm. So, but I'm sorry. I think that's it. Oh no, there's more. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Let's see. Gadalcon says, maybe someday we will be able to detect an alien signal. Maybe it does not have an RF signature. That's right. Yeah, I know you're a radio guy, a radio signals guy, Gadalcon. So you would understand that. It may not be a radio signal. It could be a photonic signal. I mean, there's a dozen different things it could be, because if they're in a civilization advanced enough to reach us with some kind of signal, then we have to assume it could be a signal other than what we expect. I don't know if you remember, but when they launched, what was the thing with the V? The first spatial object that went outside of our solar system, and they put a record on it, a gold record, and it had symbols on it. Voyager. Remember that? You remember that?
I do.
Episode of Star Trek.
I was going to call it Voyager first.
Yeah, well, that's where I was stuck. I was stuck on Voyager. So they put a record on that, and they did one on the moon as well. They put something very similar, although it was just a gold plate. But in Voyager, they put a record, and it had sounds, and it had symbols, and it had the basic symbol for hydrogen, which is hydrogen, which is the most basic atom in the universe. And the idea was, if it were ever seen by an alien life form, they could use that to interpret kind of who they were dealing with. So the same would be true of us. And that wasn't none of that was advanced technology. It was advanced for us at the time when they released Voyager. But another alien life form might look at that and say, well, these guys are really backwards. Let's attack them and eat them or whatever. So that's the challenge, to be able to interpret it correctly. But SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, is the organization that does that. And if you're interested, there, I just happen, it's funny when you hang around Alexa enough and you talk about things like Contact and SETI and VLA, Alexa picks that up, sends it to the entire world, and then suddenly you're being presented with YouTube videos on how to set up your own backyard radio telescope so you can intercept these signals as well. Or if you want, you can be part of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It's just amazing that there are people out there that have set up their own radio telescopes. And you've got to remember, this is not a day and night astronomy thing. These signals come in the daytime as well. And so what they're doing is they focus on one area of the sky, they collect data from that, and they provide it to the National Radio Astronomy Observatory.gov. And they collect all these data from people that are actually doing this, with their own radio systems. So Mary says I'm assuming she's talking about Contact. It is a great movie. She still listens to SETI. So good. So Mary Green, drone uses similar frequency range as a cell phone, 2 to 4, gigahertz and 5 to 5.8 gigahertz, which is what our radios are as well. We could, I suppose, if we wanted to, which is harmless to them. I suppose if we wanted to, we could make the argument, I have learned over my life, that it's not worth arguing that there's something else I can do. I don't necessarily expect to get drone shots, but I don't usually fight over it. If they say no, I don't fly. And as a matter of fact, whenever we go places, I check to make sure that they don't have any restrictions. New Mexico has very liberal laws when it comes to drone stuff. You can fly them in state parks, unlike national parks, right? You can fly them in state forests over state park land without any problems. They do have some restrictions, and I think the restrictions have to do with things like near Alamogordo, where White Sands Missile Range is. You can't fly over tribal property, but that's not New Mexico. That's tribal property, and they don't want you. You can't fly drones over tribal property. But other than that, you
can't even take pictures out the window of the train when you're going over tribal property.
Right? Yeah, they're pretty strict about their land. Godelcon says, I suspect the VLK is a frequency in the megahertz range. I don't know. There was a lot of signage, and they actually had this wonderful. Actually, I got a book, but it's in the garage.
So that's helpful.
I got a book. It's a very thin book, but it says, radio astronomy, and it was written by the guys at the VLA. I'll see if there's anything in there that might indicate.
You're supposed to bring your show and tell things to show the class.
Okay, you cover the show for just a minute. Talk about it, and I'll be right back. I'm going to go get it.
Okay. Well, we originally were given a pamphlet that Toby opened the door to the truck, and the wind took it underneath the truck, and then it disappeared. I think an alien got it. So he did buy a book at the gift shop, because that's one of his favorite things to buy at a gift shop is the books. And he also got a little coin, which maybe he'll bring that in and show it to you as well. And I got this t-shirt. And we had some fun there at the VLA. There's not a whole lot to see other than the antennas and what you saw on the video. That was pretty much it, except for what was inside the little visitor center, which, they have a video that plays on the wall, and they have some posters, and, not a whole lot in there. It's kind of a small place. So, but if you're going to go there, it's an hour. You'd spend an hour there at the most, and then you'd be like, okay, let's find something else to do. So there is a lot to do in southern New Mexico, though. So you can make a day of it for sure. Just traveling around southern New Mexico and the Socorro area. There's lots to do there, including a parade.
Oh, there. So Godelcon says, I found that the VLA uses frequency range covers from 70 megahertz to 50 gigahertz, which is very high frequency, a very high frequency range. So here's the book that I got. It's called Radio Sky, and it was published on their 40 years of the Very Large Array. And I'm sure someplace in there it has the frequencies that they searched. Lots of pictures. So I haven't read it yet. We just got back, but they didn't have any pins this time. I do have a pin from there, but they had coins. So I had this coin. I got the coin, the VLA coin. It has something on the back as well. NRAO. NRAO stands for National Radio Astronomy Observatory. So any other questions? Frequency range. Ghost Answer says, I agree with Stephen Hawking's philosophy on contacting aliens. Don't do it. You know what? I'm usually a big fan of science, but he has a good point to make. Carl Sagan was kind of the opposite. Carl Sagan believed that it was important. Stephen Hawking's theory was, if they're smart enough to contact us, they're smart enough to wipe us out. Like, not that they want to, you'd hope like they were thinking. But Stephen Hawking was like, probably not a good idea. Ghost Answer says, they will destroy you. That's where Hawking's philosophy was. Aliens using elephant frequency range. Yes, the elephants are very sensitive to aliens. Let's get a call in for Mary Green. You get a call?
Call?
Yeah.
About what?
So it's talking about elephants using elephant frequencies. So all in all, I would say it was a fun trip. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I was telling them as you were gone, I said you'd spend an hour there. So I would look for other things to do in the area. Maybe have some time you want to spend in Socorro, or go look at the Box Canyon, or, have another thing to do that day. If you're doing a day trip, because really an hour is plenty of time to spend at the VLA, and that's including going to the gift shop.
Yeah. So that's if you're doing a tour. What you do find out about it is it's very photogenic. The combination of the flat land all the way to the mountains, the fact that it's at 7,000 feet, that it's very flat and you can see, tens of miles, and those beautiful New Mexico skies. So you could spend it's open from something to
9 to 4.
9 to 4. You could spend a day there.
It's like closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, I think.
Yeah.
Or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's open Thursday through Sunday. You could spend a day there if you were a photographer and you just wanted lots of very cool pictures. And if you do, if you belong to one of those sites that sells photos, I had a VLA picture up on Pexels. And it was one of the most popular pictures that I had put up there, both for viewing and downloads. And if you do search VLA, there are literally hundreds of thousands of photographs, including some of those very stylish ones where they put the Milky Way galaxy in the background, one of the ones that we had in the video. And there it is. Yeah. And
there is stardust in your veins. We are literally, ultimately, children of the stars. Jocelyn Bell Burnell.
Yeah.
So there you are.
Ta-da. Carl Sagan used to call it star stuff. So do I have some more of those pictures that, let me see, where were the ones?
Coolorama. It's fun to get some space stuff, space souvenirs.
Yeah. And if you're, if you're kind of a science geek, and I'm kind of a science geek, I love science. I love this kind of stuff.
Why don't you marry it?
Why don't you marry it if you love it that much? So if you really get a kick out of this stuff, it's worth visiting, just kind of being amazed. They do have a video. We didn't stay for the video. The last time I was there, second to last, not last time, but 2 times ago, they actually had that day or something, and it was Rick Perley. I didn't realize it until I saw him again, but they had him come up in front of the group of people that were there. We thought we were going to see their standard video, and he did a whole presentation on his most recent discovery. Look up Rick Perley, Pearly, Dr. Rick Perley. And this guy, over his 45-year career, not only has made his career there at the VLA, but he's made major discoveries, by doing work there, and he's produced dozens of scientific papers. So it was nice kind of being, the guy giving you the time. I don't think he would have said no matter what. He was just that kind of guy. I don't know. Also, I don't know whether you noticed, if you, in one of the shots, there's a shot below the one that's closest, radio antenna that's closest to the facility. And there's a group of people standing there. He stood there all afternoon doing presentations on that radio telescope and what it was there for and why it was doing the same thing. And that's why I thought he was very kind to actually stand with us and do an interview. We told him it was going to be a few minutes, but all I did was ask a couple of questions, and the total interview, I should probably post that, is about 25 minutes long. I'm sorry, not 25, 15 minutes long. So it was a, I don't know where the 25 came from.
Wow. Space time.
Space, a little speed of light kind of thing, huh? Anyway, I would call it, because it's science, I would call it a 9 out of 10 for me. That's eat good steak. Mary Green says, eat good steak.
Yes.
If you do, go to the Eagle Ranch Eagle Guest Ranch Cafe on the outskirts of Datehole.
So it's like a gas station, a convenience store, in a restaurant.
Post office.
And a post
office. So it's like Datehle's main place, and it's been there, 100 years.
And we got there at what time? 5?
It was probably 5 in the afternoon. Yeah, they closed at 7, so their hours are 11 to.
And they were out of stuff.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, we couldn't get. There was something on the menu called a rib steak, not a ribeye steak. I know what a ribeye steak. I didn't know what a rib steak was. Well, as she explained it, I realized it was a ribeye, bone-in ribeye. But they were out of that, so they were out of salad. What else? They were out of something else too.
That's what I remember.
But yeah, they were out of stuff. And that was a Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
Maybe that was it. But it was very
early evening, though.
I want to say it's country, but it was country in New Mexico. All the trucks, I don't know whether you noticed, but all the trucks, literally, not just mud on the wheel, the entire truck was covered in splash mud, and they were just lined up there, and they look like working people. They look like these, and there's no engineering out there. There's no high tech. It's all ranching and farming and ranching, and mostly ranching because there's not enough water to make it a good farm. So that's the kind of people that were there. They were very kind. And I wouldn't call them sociable, but we didn't go out of our way to be social. We found the people at the VLA to be very friendly, very helpful, very informative. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. So yeah, Arecibo, which was the largest down in South America. Where is it? Peru? Chile? One of those countries. It was up in the mountains. And it had been active for several decades. And this last year, within the last 12 months, the cables broke. And the cables that were holding up the antenna in this, what was a volcanic depression, I guess is the best way to describe it. And it was, 4 football fields across kind of thing. But it had been up there for a while. And it's in a
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. It's in a tropical climate. So
where hurricanes go.
At some places, you not only get hurricanes, just wet weather, humidity, and it finally just wore out. And they decided that the cost of repairing it wouldn't be worth the cost of repairing. That it would simply be too much, and they could take that money and invest it in more of these terrestrial antennas that would give them the same result. Now, the advantage of being in Puerto Rico is, in order to do it the way the VLA does, is you have to have a big spread. I mean, those antennas require a big spread of land. So you're not going to find that in Puerto Rico. Not enough to do that. That's why Arecibo was so important. But I hadn't heard what they were going to do with it. I don't know that there's any. It's not like you can turn it into an amusement park or something like that. I suppose the most that you could do is disassemble it and, melt the metal and turn it into other antennas, I guess. I don't know. I'll check into that to see.
You do that.
I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Don't you challenge me like that, young lady.
Are you ready to go do other things?
We have to get ready for tomorrow's show, do
I
other
know.
things. So I think I'm ready. You
Better
ready?
hurry up because I'm going to fall asleep. pretty soon.
Uh-oh.
I didn't get much sleep last night.
Oh, you didn't?
Nope.
Oh, man, this is going to be tough because you're impossible to work
I
with.
got up at 5 and woke up around 3:30 and couldn't go back to sleep. So I got up around 5.
Oh, we're going to have to look this up. It was demolished. YouTube collapsed. Ever see what?
Ooh.
So, yeah. I can't click on that. So it looks like, yeah, I imagine that's what they had to do because otherwise it would be pretty dang dangerous, you know? So anyway, we had a great time. So we don't have anything planned for this week. We do plan to do something. We're just kind of working out the details as to what we are going to do. It's fall in northern New Mexico, which means the colors are out. So we might just go up north and shoot some drone footage of the colors and maybe start a campfire and make s'mores or something. So I don't know. I've been wanting to cook out, so maybe we'll do that as well. So,
yeah.
And then I have company next week.
That's right.
Tell them about my company.
Kevin's brother Brian is coming to visit, and they are staying with Toby. Him and his wife are staying with Toby.
I thought that was really cool.
For
So
a
that
couple
they
nights.
wouldn't stay with that. He's government. He's USAID, right? But he's been all over the world, some of the locations that I've been to, so we should have a lot to talk about. Speaks several languages.
Well, at least English and Portuguese.
Because his wife is Portuguese.
He speaks other languages, but I don't know how fluently.
Yeah.
Because they lived all over Africa, and they lived in Tel Aviv, and then he lived in Kabul for a while, and then Cairo. And now they're in Germany.
I wonder if they threw him in jail when he was in Kabul.
No.
Oh,
he was in a compound. And
well, then we don't have anything to talk about.
Sorry.
Oh, rats. We can talk about the obstinate Afghans. Obstinate. Okay, I think that's it for tonight.
All right. If you guys have any places in New Mexico that you would like us to go visit and make a day of it, day trip, let us know. You can write to us at
email at newmexicodaytrips.com.
nmdaytrips.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. nmdaytrips. I made that mistake.
Email at nmdaytrips.com.
So, yeah.
And
that'll get
let us know where you would like to see us go in New Mexico. That rhymed.
That was actually very good.
It's a little poem.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so I should make notes.
Make notes about.
You want me to add the visitor center before I upload that video? I won't do it until after you leave.
The interior of the visitor center. So.
Center and.
It seems like there was one other thing.
That was move the train.
Move the train. Toot toot. And then we got another comment that I can't see.
It's Colorado saying good night. Watch. Boom.
No.
It's Mary Green. Sorry, Mary Green. We'll see you next time, Mary Green. So we'll have a new show, new travels, new video. Maybe I've decided that every time we go out, we're going to try to figure out how to do another time lapse. So you get drone video, you get time lapses. What else?
All the things.
All the things. You get all the things. All the Toby funny photo things.
Yes.
Video things.
Videos and photos.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Because we got the equipment. Why not, right?
That's right.
Might as well use it.
Okay. We're ready to go.
Go ahead. Say your good nights.
All right. Thanks for being here with us tonight. Sorry we missed you last week. Toby's feeling better now, and we will be back again next week. Or if you'd like to visit with us tomorrow at 1:00 Mountain Time, we'll be here for Messages and Methods, talking about using video in your business.
So there's some new research out that indicates that everybody should be using video.
Absolutely.
That's what your clients are expecting. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow on Messages and Methods. So
Yay.
other than that, we will see you if we don't see you tomorrow.
Comments.
More comments. Oh, lots more comments. Okay. Ghostbusters or Ghost Dancer says G Night.
Ghostbusters.
Colorado Memorial Finishing LLC says, how is the boat coming along? Ugh, I knew you were going to ask that. So I haven't had the time. I'm still, so the boat just sits there. I mean, the boat will come along when I blow it up, basically. I don't have to do anything. The big challenge is the trailer, because I had to make a major design change to the trailer. And I literally haven't had the time to go back in the garage, sit down. It's going to take a day's worth of effort to get the trailer ready to put the boat upon. That's where I'm at. And I just haven't had the time. I'm hoping to get at least one day this weekend, hopefully Sunday. But if we're New Mexico day tripping on Friday, and I have company on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so it's got to be either Saturday or Sunday, and then I still have to find it time. And that's an excuse. I will have that trailer done by next week, and I'll upload a walk around. Maybe I'll even do a live stream. I can do it. It's right outside in my garage there. So that's where it's at. Then the boat is just a matter of putting the boat on the trailer and blowing it up, and it's ready to go. The motor's sitting back there. I do have to break in the motor. That's 10 hours a break-in time. So, but I could do that as well. I just hate wasting it. It's a lot of water. That's the only problem. Use a lot of water in the process. Unless you put it in a big barrel, and I don't have a big barrel. You feed it with a hose.
Like a garbage can.
You can put it in a garbage can, but it has to be big enough, because that propeller is moving at the time you're doing that.
You have garbage cans in the bed.
Oh, no, those are way too big. Oh, wait a minute. If I dumped them for a day, I could use the one. I don't know if they're strong enough, but you're right. That would actually work.
I had an
You
idea.
did it again, Shelley
That's right.
Carney.
That's right.
All right.
That's smart.
All right, you
'Cause
guys.
I'm made of stardust.
Good night. And you're made of stardust because you just have all that smart stuff going on.
Yep.
Take the propeller off. That's what I heard people doing. Goodell is to take the prop off. So, but yeah, it requires 10 hours worth of break-in. Who's going to go to a lake and travel around at under 2 miles an hour so you can break the damn thing? And I'm going to do it in a big bucket. But I like Shelley's idea. If I just put, if I took some 1x6 or 1x4 and put it on each side, that could work.
Sure. Why not?
And I could use the one that's made for.
And if it breaks, you just call the sanitation people and say, I need a new garbage can.
Somebody hit my garbage can.
They break after a while.
Yeah,
because
they do.
the garbage trucks pick them up and squish them.
But I could use the one for that's used for recyclables, because it doesn't have all kinds of gunk in it.
Cleaner.
Yeah. And it'll be much cleaner by the time I'm done with it, with all that turbulence and everything.
Yeah.
I really like that idea. I'm going to see if somebody's done.
Put some soapy bubbles in there.
Yeah, that's what my motor needs, sucking in a bunch of soapy bubbles. You're putting it there because it's going through your cooling system. So you don't want that soapy bubbles. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Put a 350 Chevy in it. We had a 350 Chevy. It would sink the back of the boat. If you could get it to stay on the water, you would ride on a plane like that. V-drive. It's a 6 horsepower motor. It's a 6 horsepower motor as it is, which is a big motor for a boat that weighs 110 pounds. So we'll see. All right, guys. No, I'm serious.
For sure, we're leaving.
Yeah. Wait, there was another comment. What is it? Let's see. What's that? I need to get my DR fixed for a toy run next month. Just saying.
What's a DR?
I'm going to guess a motorcycle. And a toy run is what they do. They do a Christmas toy run for kids. So a toy run is always a bunch of motorcyclists getting together, collecting toys so that they could donate them, usually to the Marine Corps, so that they get to the kids. Oh, by the way, so my son, Jason, I don't know whether you remember last year about this time. Actually, it's November 5th every year, is the Marine Corps annual Marine Corps birthday ball. Well, last year, Jason called me and he said they've asked him to do portraits. Well, Jason is very good, as having won New Mexico state photography,
fair.
state fair photography. professional photography in the first and second place in the professional class. But what he's not good at is portraits. So he called me and he said, "Hey, would you like to come along and do the portraits part of this?" And I said, "Of course, I'd love to. That would be great." Anyway, they called him back a couple of weeks ago and they asked him, "Would you like to do it again this year?" So on November 5th, which happens to fall on a Saturday this week, we're going to be doing the Marine Corps ball. I'm going to be doing the portraits. It's going to be at the Embassy Suites this year in Albuquerque, but I'll share you some of those photos with you when I get back from that. I'm looking forward to that. It'd be a lot of fun. Does that qualify as New Mexico day trips?
No.
Okay.
But you can share it anyway.
I thought I'd try.
It's not really a day trip.
It's
more of a job.
So motorcycle. What is a DR? What model motorcycle is that? Colorado model. That's not a brand. Who does the DR model?
Doctors.
No.
Doctors without motorcycles.
Doctors without motorcycles. Doctors. A DR. What is a DR? It's not an HD. It's not a. Oh, Suzuki 650. Oh, so that's their overland model, right? I know what you're talking about. Gotcha. Wow. That's Goodell thinks you're funny.
I am a hoot.
All right. I'm serious now. We're going to leave.
Okay.
Say goodbye.
Bye.
Hey, don't forget. Ooh, I got to take that comment off. Hang on. And don't forget, we love you.